Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video I got something super interesting for you guys. We're going to be going over, can you daily drive a 2002 Subaru WRX? We're going to cover different scenarios like going to the grocery store, maybe going to work, moving, if you have to move stuff back and forth. We got a lot of different things that we're going to cover. We also have pros and cons that we're going to go into because I have noticed some pros and cons of driving this car every single day as my daily driver, and I just want to give you guys some insight on what my experience has been with it. Also, I just want to say in the beginning, this is my experience with this car as a Stage 2 tune. I've never driven this car stock. It's always been Stage 2 tune, so that might sway you in a good or a bad way. I just thought I'd preface that in the beginning of this video before we head right into it. Now, my work is only 10 miles away from my house. I need to bring my lunchbox, water, a change of shoes for the gym, and my gym bag. This is not a lot of stuff, so if you are someone who stores a lot of stuff in your car, there's plenty of room back here to store everything that you need. So using your car for work has been approved. Okay, so ignore my sweatiness, but I just got out from the gym, so that's why I'm all super sweaty and stuff. And we're gonna go to Giant and we're gonna go pick up some groceries. This is a pretty big number of groceries that we're gonna pick up, so we're gonna see if we can fit it all in the back. My subwoofer does take up like half of my trunk, and I also have skateboards in there, and I also have my work bag and stuff back there, so we'll see if we can fit it all. I think it is a lot of groceries, but I'll show you guys afterwards if we can fit it all in there and if you can get groceries in this car. So check this out, okay? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bags in the trunk. We got one right there. This is all the groceries for me and my family of 4 that we could fit back here. And I also have this clothes, my tool set. I have 2 skateboards in here. I have jumper cables and my huge subwoofer in there. So yeah, you know, I would say this is a pretty decent car to get groceries with. Also, if anyone curious, this is how full it was before. So I mean, if you didn't have a giant subwoofer like this or a bunch of junk in the back of your car, I think you could fit a lot in the back of here. So yeah, I would say that it passes this test. Now, whenever I move back and forth between school and back home, at the end of the semester, I need to bring a lot of stuff home with me. This includes my clothes, my TV, any extra stuff that I brought up there. So all that needs to come with me whenever I go home at the end of the semester, or I'm going back up there at the beginning of the semester. And to prove to you guys just how much you can fit inside the back seat, I brought my 50-inch TV out here, and we're gonna go ahead and toss it in the back seat. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a tight fit. Look at it back there. It fills up the whole entire back seat. You can even watch TV from up here if we wanted to. But as you can see, it fits in here. It's actually like perfect to fit inside of here. It takes a little bit easier if you move the legs off of it, but this is how I actually transport my TV back and forth from school and home. I think that's a perfect example of just what you can fit inside this car. Obviously, you're not gonna be moving any furniture or like lumber or anything like that, but being able to fit such a big TV in it, you still have all that room in the back and the trunk, I'd consider that a pass. Now let's talk about gas mileage. There are many different scenarios you can catch yourself driving in. We got stop and go traffic. We got on the highway. We got just cruising on the back roads. Results will vary, of course, with your driving, what your gas mileage is, but from my personal experience, I drive about 20 miles a day. That's to work, to the gym afterwards, and then all the way back home. In this time, I can usually have a full gas tank, which is 16 gallons, last 2 weeks. So if we do the math, that's about 300 miles on an entire tank. My driving is just comprised of back roads and a little bit of main roads, but there was one scenario that I was able to squeeze out 500 miles of range, and that was in one of my videos actually that I posted, which is my 1,000-mile road trip that I took. I was able to get 500 miles on one tank, so I was able to go the whole way down on one tank and the whole way back on a tank with, I think, a little tiny fill up along the way or something. It was maybe a little bit under 500. I just fill up a tiny little bit, but I was getting close to 500 miles range. And whenever I pulled out my Cobb access port and was reading my mile per gallon. I was going 65 miles an hour on the highway, and I pulled out my access port because I was curious what my mile per gallon was, and I was getting 31 miles to the gallon. So I think that must have been like my sweet spot or something for getting the most mile per gallon. Maybe if I would have gone a little bit slower and gone to 60, I could have got more mile per gallon. I don't know. That's just the amount of mile per gallons I got going that speed, and I made it last 500 miles. So I feel like we can improve the gas mileage of this car if that's something that you can deal with. Now, let's go into the pros and the cons of daily driving this car. We're going to start with the cons list because in one of my public speaking classes that I took, I learned that we're supposed to go over the cons first and the pros second. That way, you remember the pros at the very end since they came last, and maybe you'll forget about a couple of the cons. So, for the cons, this is what I realized, is that for some, the gas mileage might be too low. A second thing would be the seats can get uncomfortable. If you do see my 1,000-mile road trip video, after a couple hours of driving this car, it does get uncomfortable. Whenever you are driving on the highway, there is a lot of road noise. It's not just exhaust. I do have aftermarket exhaust on this, but there is just a lot of wind and road noise that you can hear, even with the windows up. Now, because specifically this car is an older car, it is going to require more maintenance to keep running. For some people, they just don't want to have to be able to buy the car and not worry about it. But for a car like this, you do have to take care of it and do a lot more maintenance to it and baby it a little bit more than you would a newer car. Finally, since this car fits into the sport compact category, that is going to mean that it's a little bit smaller. Hence the word compact. So it is a sportier car, falls in the sport category, but also it is a compact. It's smaller. It's really not that big on the inside. Like we said before, you're not going to be able to fit any like lumber in this. You're not going to be able to fit furniture or anything like that. It's really just going to be small scale stuff. My 50-inch TV barely fits into this thing. Now, it is time for the pros list. The good list, the best list. This car has 4 doors to fit all your friends into it. It has that sweet turbocharged engine so many people desire. Of course, a manual transmission. You don't see a lot of those around today. They're hard to come by. Another one is that it's a sporty sedan. You see a lot of sports cars and they don't have 4 doors. Like we said before, this is a sedan, so you can fit all your friends into it. I do think you can fit a lot more inside of it than what you really think. I know as a con it was space, but I feel like people don't think that you can fit as much as you really can inside of this car. There's a strong community around this car, so if you do ever have problems, people online can always help solve them, and most of your questions have already been answered somewhere online. And the last point being that you do not see this car very often. At least in my area, I've only seen 2 bug-eyed WRXs in the 2 years that I have owned this car, so depending on where you live, this car might be very rare. There's not a lot of them in your area, so to me, I feel like that's cool because it's not a car that you see every single day on the road. Both of those lists laid out for you guys. I hope that you could take into consideration my pros and cons list for if you are looking into daily driving or getting a 2002 Subaru WRX. I have loved this car as a daily driver. I've had it for the past 2 years as the car that I drive every single day. It has maintenance just like any other car does. I have not had to do a lot to mine, just some required things that I think are perfectly normal for a car of this age and just that any car would normally have in their maintenance schedule. I'm a firm believer in that if you want something enough, you'll make it work. I had concerns about reliability for this car. Whenever I did first buy it, I thought maybe I'd have to go around and changing a lot of parts. I read some horror stories online about people not having good experiences with these cars, but in the end, things turned out well for me, and if I could go in the past, I would do the same thing again. I would purchase this car because it has treated me so well. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope this video gave you some things to consider about daily driving a 2002 Subaru WRX. Thank you guys so much for your support on the channel. I really appreciate it a lot. If you guys are still watching the video up until this point, please go down and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot more than you even know. And I really appreciate all the support that you guys have given on the channel. But that's all I got for you guys. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.